Long ago, there lived a clan with unrivaled chakra reserves, mastery of sealing techniques, and a vitality that defied the limits of mortal shinobi. They went by the name Uzumaki, one of the most powerful clans to ever exist in the shinobi world. But their legacy got completely sealed when rival clans trembling at their power united to exterminate them in the Land of Whirlpools. At least that's what Naruto told us. But what if all of it was a lie? Could it be that the true force behind the Uzumaki's annihilation wasn't human fear, but the wrath of an Ōtsutsuki god, a cosmic puppet master who rewrote reality to bury their potential? Today I will unravel a lost tale, the biggest plot twist in the history of Naruto, a setup that was seeded way before the writers had even imagined a sequel. And behind the secret of the most powerful clan, there lives a symbol of legacy which has manifested into Boruto Uzumaki, the last member of this clan who is destined to achieve what his ancestors couldn't. It will be an amazing ride, so if you are still not subscribed, make sure to do it, and let's begin. Plot twists in Boruto have really insanely been crafted, from the plot armor working to revive the main character with a reasonable excuse, to something that turned around our entire POV on the most hyped fight. We have the potential villains becoming good guys, the biggest threat becoming a living disgrace, a monster hyping up a prediction, only to disappear after it doesn't come true, and whatnot. The biggest one so far was when a magic spell dropped on the two characters who drive the series, just to switch their lives completely. And this wasn't just some sort of people remembering them differently, even though Momoshiki may have phrased it like that when mentioning the previous gods who changed history, but in actuality, it was an overall alteration of everyone's perception, emotions and feelings for these two people. What they used to feel for one person, now they felt for the other, and vice versa. But that wasn't the limit of this overly broken spell, which rewrites history with the power of gods. There was something more behind the intel that we received from Momoshiki. While Omnipotence was clearly attributed as the greatest shinjutsu of all time, a power that changes reality in itself, but which exact reality becomes the question here. Now I'm not going for an alternate universe possibility, but something far more deeper than that, a point that none of us was able to catch ever since the divine plot was introduced in Boruto. So with the reveal of Omnipotence, it became clear that the series would someday reach a point where we would see the gods fighting to protect the universe, or let's say to destroy someone else's universe to save their own. A majority of these possibilities will remain headcanon till Kishimoto decides to drop some more lore on Shibai, but anyway. In chapter 79, Momoshiki said Ōtsutsuki are immune to the spell of omnipotence, but humans are not. This means their memories can be changed, but the celestial beings would always remain immune. Maybe because this ability originated in their own clan or some similar logic. But what's fascinating is that this makes omnipotence the instrument of the gods, something that they could use anytime to play with the petty lives of human beings. And maybe that's what has been happening since ages, as Momoshiki himself pointed out the gods changing history in the past. But there are some complications that I don't think you must have thought of. For some reasons, the Ōtsutsuki who ascend to godhood are more likely to show mercy to the humans than the rest of the clan. This may be because of their saint-like stature, which prevents them from using their powers to completely eliminate humanity from existence. It could also be because they have the power of 10 directions, an ability which allows them to see what type of fruit a seed would bear way before it becomes a tree. So if they use a prescience to see a seed turning into a tree which bears an undesirable fruit, they might completely wipe out the seed from existence before it ever learns to grow. This means the humans are living on the mercy of these deities, but if somehow a condition appears where some of these inferior creatures would unlock the potential to bring a downfall to their clan, there is no way the Ōtsutsuki gods would hold back in such scenario, and that brings us to the reality behind the Uzumaki massacre. The Uzumaki clan, originating from the Uzushigakure in the Land of Whirlpools, was a legendary lineage in Naruto. They were distant relatives of the Senju and also the descendants of Hagoromo Ōtsutsuki, renowned for their extraordinary vitality, vast chakra reserves, and unmatched funjutsu expertise. They used to have vibrant red hair, symbolizing their enduring life force. Members like Mito and Kushina Uzumaki harnessed their sealing prowess to contain the Nine Tails using the 4 symbol seals, while techniques like the Reaper Death Seal showcase their ability to bind souls. Their immense chakra sustained prolonged battles, and their longevity defied aging, making them ideal Jinchuriki and formidable shinobi. But even though they had such a renowned legacy, the problem arises when the topic switches to their extermination, or let's say the most violent massacre in shinobi history. In chapter 500 of the Naruto manga, Kushina recounts her past to Naruto, explaining that Uzushigakure, the home of the Uzumakis, was feared for its powerful sealing jutsu. She states that during during a time of war. Other powerful nations came together to destroy the village, believing it was too powerful to be allowed to continue. This is the primary canonical mention of the Uzumaki clan's extermination. However, specifics about the attackers remain vague and were never clearly disclosed, which brings us to the biggest setup of the series. The biggest thing about the sequel of a series is always its ability to nourish the vision of the original series by extending the established concepts in reasonable ways. A few such moments from Boruto would be Sasuke losing his Rinnegan, a dojutsu which helped him a lot in the original series, but taking it away from him was necessary since it gave him an edge against the Ōtsutsuki and other enemies. Hypothetically speaking, Sasuke with the Rinnegan might have been able to defeat Code based on the poor combat skills of Ishiki's so-called successor and how he even lost an eye while fighting nerfed Sasuke. But this downgrade was more or less important as the defeat of Sasuke turned him into a tree, which gave Boruto a huge reason to fight the Shinju. So instead of saying it's the loss of an iconic power, it should be phrased as a clever way to rise stakes and push the story forward. Another such example of plot extension comes from Kurama, who somehow got reborn inside Himawari, proceeding her to become the next wielder of his powers, adding a nostalgic touch to the story. Some more examples include Boruto using Flying Thunder God, the signature power of Minato, Kashinkoji becoming a prophecy teller, which is an advancement of Jiraiya fulfilling the prophecy of the Toad Sage. But the most epic integration of an original plot into the newer story must be none other than the hidden lore of the Uzumaki clan. So in chapter 79, Momoshiki dropped a huge hint for the divine intervention of some unknown Ōtsutsuki god. He asked Boruto that how many times have the memories of mankind been tampered with. It was by the hands of the Ōtsutsuki who once became gods. Now here is something that I believe none of you must have noticed. Momoshiki starts with "didn't you ever think of it?" as if Boruto was supposed to have a thought of the number of times when the history was changed by the Ōtsutsuki gods. But why in the world would he do so? Well, maybe because it has something to do with his own clan. Imagine someone narrating the tale of Uzumakis to Boruto. What are the chances that he would question about the killers who led the massacre of his ancestral clan? Well, judging by the type of person he was in the beginning, there is no way he would think of something like that. But this question of Momoshiki was not directed to Boruto. It was actually for us, you and I, the audience who are familiar with the lore of Naruto, yet we never smelled something fishy. The Uzumakis were feared and eradicated, but the people or villages behind this massacre were never explicitly mentioned. It was as if they got erased from the world without a trace, as them staying alive would have led to something really undesirable. So what if Momoshiki was actually referring to this event, and the reason he asked Boruto if he never wonders how many times such events have taken place could be because it involved his own clan, the Uzumakis. And that's not all. The introduction of some Shinjutsu abilities such as the Senringan and the Prescience made this possibility even more stronger. So hit that subscribe button if you enjoy what I'm about to reveal. There is a reason for these three abilities, the Omnipotence, the Clairvoyance and the Prescience, to emerge as an amalgamation of Shibai Ōtsutsuki's powers. First of all, shout out to Claudius McQueen for commenting down this concept on several of my videos from the past few months. Today is the day I'm finally covering them, so hope you enjoy. These three powers are derived from the attributes of a god from Christian theology, which are omnipotent, omnipresent and omniscient. Omnipotent means all-powerful, someone who can literally do anything, explaining why the power of omnipotence is viewed as the Shinjutsu of Shinjutsus, an ability that can literally manifest anything. Then we have omnipresent, the quality of a divine being who exists at all places at the same time. And the power of Aida's Senringan is the clear equivalent to this, since she can literally go through all the past events up to her birth, which might even defy time, meaning she could look through the history of the shinobi world, which is years long in literally no time. The only limitation she has been given is the period of time that she can access through her Senringan, which for some reasons is restricted to the day she was born. But in case of a mighty Ōtsutsuki god, he could be present at every period of history at the same time, and that's how broken this ability actually is. Then we have omniscient, which refers to someone with the complete knowledge of everything, be it the past, present or the future. And to no one's surprise, the Boruto equivalent of this attribute is none other than the Shinjutsu of Prescience or the 10 directions, whatever you may wanna call it. So this ability allows the user to peek into multiple possibilities of the future based on the current odds and events. The one using this power could set up things in a way to pave the path for a desirable outcome, something similar to what Kashinkoji is doing in the story. But when it comes to an Ōtsutsuki god, I think they would hold the ultimate variant of this Shinjutsu, which would be called the Omniscience. So what does that mean? Well, the Ōtsutsuki in their godhood could assert the past, present and future all at the same time, which means they would be above the concept of time and space itself to do that. And as for what it has to do with the Uzumaki massacre, well, the lesson that we would learn from this would not only explain how even minor setups in stories can lead to something phenomenal, but also the small negligible decisions that you take in your life could pay off in unexpected ways. So back to the theory, we know everyone was afraid of the Uzumakis for their mastery in sealing techniques and also the impeccable life force. While their remarkable longevity is the proof that they could tackle very strong opponents, their sealing techniques on the other hand is actually something which could have caused trouble to the Ōtsutsuki clan. In normal conditions, it's pretty hard to kill any Ōtsutsuki since they could have been hiding a vessel somewhere who would help them to resurrect once they are dead. That's why the best way to get rid of these celestial beings is to seal them away, similar to how Naruto and Sasuke used the Sun Moon seals from Hagoromo to seal away Kaguya. Now back to the Uzumakis, there is a possibility that their strong life force and ridiculous mastery in Fuinjutsu could have made them a threat to the Ōtsutsuki clan. The basis for this possibility can be found in the infinite monkey theorem. It's an idea that if a monkey hits keys on random at a typewriter for an infinite amount of time, it will eventually type out any given text, such as the complete works of Shakespeare. Now take the same framework and apply it to the case of Uzumakis. The Ōtsutsuki gods must have the power to see infinite futures through prescience, and they could have used it to make sure that their clan remains safe from humanity in every potential timeline. While Koji may be restricted through time, which is why he won't tap into infinite possibilities with this power, an Ōtsutsuki god on the other hand who's above space and time must be able to run prescience endless times to check every possible outcome. And going by the infinite monkey theorem, he must have seen a future where the Uzumakis become extremely powerful, so much that they could even take on Ōtsutsuki level threats. The main deal lies within their sealing techniques, which would have evolved to an extent that no Ōtsutsuki would have been safe from it. In other words, they could defy the resurrection arts of the celestial beings, which is an application of the Karma seal to seal them all away for eternity. This may be the future that the gods mentioned by Momoshiki had foreseen, and to prevent any such thing from happening, they kept the rest of the humanity on their mercy by changing everyone's memories about the Uzumakis. Suddenly, the most renowned and respected clan became the most feared, and without any proper explanation, all of them were exterminated, leaving only the survivors behind. This explains the infamous rewrite of history, which would be remembered as one of the greatest setups in Naruto. But it doesn't end there, as the legacy of the Uzumaki clan was passed down to Naruto Uzumaki, who became the child of prophecy as well as the war hero of Konoha. However, an even interesting fate was waiting for his son Boruto, as foretold by Momoshiki when he first saw him. He was about to revitalize the legacy that his ancestors would have left if they were not exterminated. The one who would put an end to the cycle of destruction, the arch nemesis of the merciless Uzumaki clan, is what Boruto is destined to become. As for why I believe that's going to be the case, Kishimoto has referred to Boruto as the God Slayer in one of the promotional panels, and this only means one thing: he would defy destiny itself to battle these godlike beings who are by far the biggest danger to humanity. And this would imply that even though the Ōtsutsuki gods got rid of the Uzumaki clan, who were the most dangerous variable in their universe of possibilities, it was still written for a heir of this clan to bring down this notoriously selfish clan once for all. It's like a destiny in the genes type of scenario, the same line that Ishiki used for Kashin Koji. And if you are interested in more fate-driven videos, make sure to check out these right now, and I will see you next time.